Hello, everyone, and welcome in. It's Aaron St. Dennis at FF Mad Scientist, joined by Jesse Moeller at JMoeller05. We are here to recap all of the Week 14 games. How's it going, Jesse?
It's going good. It was a pretty wild week looking back on it and all the things that happened. But, hopefully you got into the playoffs or you're on the verge of making the playoffs with the two games coming in tonight because I had some chaos go last night in my home league, my most important league. That fumble cost me a bye, the Devonta Smith fumble. I was like, we had it, fumbled it. Yeah, so I'm still not over that. But overall, it was a good weekend.
Would you believe so I'm in 71 leagues, with the exception of the one league that was already in the playoffs and Scott Fishbowl, where I was already eliminated. Every other league, I had nothing to play for yesterday.
Wow.
I was games where the leagues. I think there's only two leagues where I'm already eliminated, where I didn't make the playoffs out of 71, which I thought was impressive, considering I think I just proved that I'm my own worst enemy with lineups, because this year when I put no effort into actual research and just went with my gut, I'm in the playoffs in like 68 out of 71 leagues. But so I had the leagues where I missed the playoffs. I couldn't have made the playoffs. There was one where I'm going to finish out of the playoffs. I could have theoretically I won, the other guy lost, but I had to outscore him by like 275 to make it. So it was like, no. Then pretty much every other league, I think I was already, like, I went through and it's like, well, can't do anything. I couldn't really move up. The leagues where I was first, second, or third, it was like, well, I've already clinched that. There were no real first round buys in a lot of my leagues. So I had a lot of leagues where I didn't really have a whole lot to play for, which is amazing. I looked through and I was like,
really nice.
The one league, it looks like the Frankenstank League, looks like that came to an end for me this week. That was the league that started the playoffs, and I had no quarterback this week. Well, I had Trevor Lawrence, but I don't know if he counts as a quarterback this week. And then I had, I think I had three of my main starters were Lions players, and that didn't work out well. I looked at everyone was at like 220, and I'm at 45, and I'm like, oh, yep, bad time to have a bad week. So
very much so. Yeah, I had like 6 or 7 games deciding a potential buy where it's like tweener, like you're a 2 seed or a 3 seed and you're on the verge. So I have quite a few of those games going on tonight, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, the majority of stuff was already decided. Just
it was the
few games there I was like, oh yeah.
Calm before the storm for me, completely anticlimactic. One of those weeks where I just sat there and said, don't have any of my major players get hurt. Lost Herbert.
That is always the best.
Aside from that, I think I came through it all right. Let's go. Our first preview, we're going to do Tampa Bay, Atlanta. Who would have thought this was a barn burner? 29-25 Tampa, both teams 6-7 in a three-way tie for the NFC South League. Excuse me, I got the hiccups today. In the NFC South, I'm just looking something up here, 2023 standings, unless you have it off the top of your head. I know it's a three-way tie. Do you know who's leading the NFC South by tiebreaker?
I don't. I honestly don't.
I don't know either, and I'm a Saints fan, so I'm going to look it up. It is Bucks, Falcons, Saints in that order. So go figure.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it's just an ugly division. One of those teams is taking it. I don't know who it's going to be, but one of them is taking it.
So we start off, the quarterbacks were surprisingly, decent, probably top 12 here, given how bad they both, are. Baker had 144 yards and 2 touchdowns, also added in a rushing touchdown. Desmond Ridder had 347 yards and only 1 touchdown, did also add in a second rushing touchdown. So both quarterbacks did what you needed out of them. Both running backs that were starters were studs in this one. We had 102 and 33 yards and a touchdown through the air for Rachaad White. Bijan had 34 yards rushing and a touchdown, 5 for 54 through the air. Edmonds got you. If you had to spot start him, he got you by, I guess. 40 yards and then 2 for 18 through the air. Algier is pretty much doing nothing. 9 carries, 40 yards. I guess it wasn't terrible. What's that? 4.5 yards per carry, but Bijan getting all the high value touches, so we're finally getting what we want from Bijan. The Bucks receivers were disappointing. Godwin 5 for 53. Who? David Moore? I was like, DJ Moore doesn't play for them. David Moore 1 for 11. Trey Palmer 1 for 3. Mike Evans 1 for 8. A lot of duds unless you had Chris Godwin. So Mike Evans, as he does, lets you down when you needed him. On the other side, Drake London finally shows up on the score sheet. He has 10 for 172 and a 2-point conversion. No other receiver on the Falcons was useful. The tight ends were both, actually, we had kind of 3 decent tight ends by tight end standards. Cade Otton goes 2 for 16 and is saved by a touchdown. Jonnu Smith goes 4 for 27, puts up a decent stat line for a tight end. And Kyle Pitts goes 3 for 57, which isn't terrible for a tight end, but he added in the touchdown to really make it worth your day. Kickers, McLaughlin put up a 50-yarder, 3 for 3 on extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals. He was good. Koo was a total dud. I think I missed on 2 kickers this week, which hasn't happened all year, I think. I believe Koo was one of them. Koo and – oh, no, I haven't. Sanders is playing tonight. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Koo was 1 for 3 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. He missed some huge field goals and was probably to blame for the Falcons losing. Bucks DST had an interception, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a safety. They were good, and the Falcons, hopefully you didn't have to start them because they sucked. What's your takeaway here?
So if you look at these teams, and I told you one of them was going to pass for 144 yards, like how much money would you have bet have been the Falcons in this game? Because they've been so bad passing, and of course it flips where Tampa Bay couldn't pass. They only did 144 yards passing.
Yeah.
And the Ritter throws for 347. And that shows up in the script. Like you see, it was all Drake London, really, and Kyle Pitts got there, Jonnu Smith. On the other side, like there's no passing volume. It's just nothing. And you see that with the 144 yards. It's just brutal. The only guy that was really good for you was Baker. Was solid, but it's Rachaad White. Like Rachaad White has been fantastic, and he had another excellent game. He's just getting that volume. It's elite. It's so good to see. And then we finally get Bijan doing his thing the past couple of weeks, where he's putting up the numbers for you. And yeah, like my takeaway, like on Twitter, I was talking about this with Drake London, is like the dude's elite. He just needs the situation to improve. So takeaway is Drake London is who we thought he was. He's a very good wide receiver. Yeah, this is a brutal game for Mike Evans because he was in a bunch of my lineups and just killed me this week. So seeing that go down was like, oh, I looked at the score sheet. I go, what? 1 catch? I was like, oh, man. Yeah, so that one still burns a little bit. And I was surprised how good Ritter was, but it's 25 points. That's really good. Like, so he played him, which Superflex, like, that's money.
The quarterbacks aren't bad Superflex options, although inconsistent. You're starting both running backs as the takeaway, and all the receivers here are pretty inconsistent. Even though the tight ends were decent, they're pretty inconsistent. So you have a lot of inconsistent assets in this one, except for the 2 running backs. So yeah. I don't know if I want to be trusting anyone in this game on a regular basis, aside from White and Bijan.
Yeah, I would say Mike Evans normally is just a really bad game for him.
Yeah, not great. Baltimore beats the LA Rams in overtime, 37-31. I think I may have to start giving the Rams more respect because this is a couple weeks in a row where I thought they were way inferior to the other team, and they put up a better fight than I thought. They beat Cleveland. They almost beat Baltimore, and I don't think they're that good, but 6-7, I feel better about them at 6-7 than I do about any of the NFC South teams at 6-7, but got 2 more great. Like it was a great week for quarterbacks, even though I didn't feel like it was I guess it was a high scoring week if you look around at some of these scores. But Stafford goes 294 with 3 touchdowns. Lamar goes 316, 3 touchdowns. A couple of long ones here. Then it looks like he also had 11 carries for 70 yards because I love the way Sleeper writes this. So both quarterbacks were studs. I'd be willing to bet they're both top. Lamar might be the QB1 on the week.
Yeah, I think he might be. Something up there.
Lamar is the QB1 on the week. Stafford's the QB3 on the week. So
Jake Browning. Sorry.
So running backs, we have Kyron Williams, who got a lot of work. Didn't get into the end zone, but his yardage, 25 carries for 114 yards, made it worthwhile. He chipped in 3 receptions, but for negative yardage. No other Ram running back was usable. The only Raven running back that was decent was Keaton Mitchell, 9 for 54, 1 for 8 through the air. No touchdown, so he falls victim to a not great day. The receivers here continue to kind of play roulette. We actually had, it looks like 5 who were usable, and I guess Aguilar wasn't terrible either. This league, it depends. This would be very dependent here. If your league counted return yards or return touchdowns, Tylan Wallace is probably much higher in this ranking. Apparently, this league does not count his, 75-yard punt return touchdown to win it in OT, but So he was much more usable depending on your settings. But so that's the only reason I mentioned him. This league, he didn't record a catch and he was completely useless. Oh no, it must have, because he didn't record a catch, but it gave you the 6 points for the touchdown, but not the return yardage. So return.
Yeah, it probably gives you like the defensive special teams touchdown type thing, but no yards.
Yeah. So we have Cooper Kupp goes 8 for 115 and a touchdown. Puka Nacua goes 5 for 84. What's this? DeMarcus Robinson? I can never remember. Yes, DeMarcus Robinson goes 8 for 46 and a touchdown. Touchdown saves his day. OBJ 4 for 97 and 1. It continues to scare me because he's not getting, like, he got a lot of targets. He's just not getting a lot of catches. And it seems like the only reason he's been fantasy relevant of late, he seems to have this habit of just nobody covers him and he breaks loose for one long touchdown and does nothing. Because as you see, he had one, I believe it was 65 yards on the touchdown and then nothing after that. We got Zay Flowers goes 6 for 60 and a touchdown with a 2-point conversion. Nelson Aguilar goes 5 for 32. The tight ends, Davis Allen comes out of nowhere to go 4 for 50 and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely 5 for 83 and a touchdown in the game where I said if he doesn't do anything, drop him. So I guess you can continue to ride him because this was a matchup. Both kickers were good for you. Havrasek, who I thought was cut, was he not released and it was Crosby? Is this an error on Sleeper?
I don't know. I didn't see who was kicking for them, so I'm going to take their word for it, but we've known.
No, it turns in his best performance. So they must have signed Mason Crosby and played Havrasek anyways, but go figure. So they're carrying 2 kickers on the active roster. Havrasek goes 3 for 3 on field goals. He makes a 20-yarder, a 30-yarder, and a 50-yarder. 2 for 2 on extra points. Tucker's 3 for 3 on field goals. He makes 2 30-something yarders, a 40-yarder, and 2 extra points. The Rams' defense was not great, and the Ravens was, decent. They were passable, 2 sacks and a touchdown. What's your takeaway from this one?
Zay Flowers is very much the focal point of that offense. I was looking at the routes run and the snaps. He did not come off the field on any of the passing downs. Literally, he ran every route for the team. Where Odell, he ran
4 weeks in a row.
Odell ran, I think, 32 routes. Zay Flowers ran 54 routes.
I'm assuming this here is when Andrews goes down for the season. I don't remember exactly, but I feel like it's probably a good chance.
Yeah, it's just like 98, 94, 97. Yes, they very much like him, but he is the guy on that offense. And on the flip side, you see the wide receivers, Puka and Kupp doing their thing. Like, they were hyper-targeted in there. The Robinson thing's weird. Like, I would not expect that to stick at all. But, 10 targets for him, that at least catches your attention,
weird spike here in usage.
Because you would think it would be Tutu, right? Like, Tutu's been the guy. Like, he's been that third option. But nope, they just started Marcus Robinson. I don't know. They must have saw something with the game.
And the weird spike here. I don't get it how Cooper and Nacua were both useful, but we have 2 in Robinson and Allen with absolutely weird spikes in snap share.
It is strange.
Did he throw a ton? 41 attempts. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch this one. They were ahead, weren't they? They weren't trailing.
Yeah, and it was close most of the game, and then the Rams kind of did what they could to get it to overtime at the end. But Baltimore did have the lead, and then in overtime, it was a little back and forth.
That's the highest pass attempts for him in a long time. 37. They've been ramping up lately, but he's look at the pass attempts here. He's in the 20s and 30s and 41 here, so that's probably why there's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more people to throw to now. They're spreading the ball.
Well, same thing with Lamar. 43 pass attempts for him. If you get those pass attempts, that's what we love to see. Unfortunately for Mitchell, he did not take a bigger role like we wanted for the running backs, so that's a little unfortunate. But yeah, you can't. I don't know why people.
I called it. I said a third when we said, "What do you think his snap share will be?" I said a third. It was literally 1/3 of the snaps. What was just?
It kind of was.
Hill
what
was
it was
42.
Previously.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. No. It was what it was previously, more regress to that. So that's just unfortunate. But yeah, on the other flip side, Kyron Williams is just the bell cow of all bell cows. Once again, snaps, all the volume, just doing his thing. It didn't have the best game, but still 90% of the snaps, all the opportunities in the world. This is ideal for midi running back. So the trade deadline's about to kick in a lot of leagues because this league's about to finalize. So you have a couple weeks. But if you need someone to go for the playoffs, I don't mind, going to get Kyron Williams and make the late push for your team. If you need someone, that isn't going to cost you a ton of money because people still don't value him.
All right, we got to pick it up a bit because
we
have 12.
We have 2. There's some questions in here too.
Oh, did we? Sorry.
Yep.
I'm on the other screen here. We will go with, I need 16.3 PPR points, and I have the choice of A-Chain or Saquon. A-Chain.
Yeah, I feel like, yeah, like it's just I think both these guys are actually gonna hit above 16. Honestly, like I don't mind it, and
I prefer
yeah,
AJ now. You?
yeah. I hate the Tennessee matchup. That's the only thing that worries me. So I think I feel safer about Saquon, like getting that bar, but I think Achan has a higher ceiling. Like he could get 30. I don't see Saquon's in that range without him. So yeah.
I think Tua and Henry combined for 30 points tonight in full PPR.
Yeah, they're going against Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I
Yeah.
think Tua gets you there. I do worry about Henry. Like
Now,
Henry's floor is really
I
low.
think Henry gets you at least. I'm thinking Henry 15 to 20, and I think Tua gets you 25. I
Yeah.
think you have a better chance. If I had to guess over under, I think you're closer to. I think you're closer to 50 between these two than 30. I would say
Mhm.
Tua gets you 25 to 30. Henry gets you 15 to 20. So what's the math like on that? 40 to 45. I think you're closer. You're more like 40. So if that's what you
Yeah.
need, 30 points to clinch the
I think you'll
playoffs,
get there.
you're good. You should be good. So
Yeah, you can just look at their projections. They're going to project for way over 30 combined. So yeah, like
yeah,
I think you can be set. You're good.
Tua might get you there on his own, but moving on, we got the Bears stunning the Lions 28-13. Lions fall to 9-4, Bears 5-8. Jared Goff was terrible. 20 completions for 161 yards, an interception, and 2 touchdowns. He continues to turn the ball over at a ridiculous rate. Justin Fields goes 223 and a touchdown, adds in 12 carries for 58 yards and a rushing touchdown, just like we all said he would. Actually, that was a little lower than I expected, but still almost 60 yards is pretty solid. Jahmyr Gibbs goes 66 yards and a touchdown on the ground, 3 for 16 through the air. David Montgomery, 10 for 66 and 3 for 19. Deonta Foreman goes 11 carries, 50 yards, 2 for 22. Almost nothing from Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. So the debate of who was the guy here between Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson, the correct answer was Deonta Foreman, just like we all expected.
Yeah.
The receivers, the pass catchers all around were kind of funky for Detroit. Josh Reynolds leads the way with 3 for 44 and is only usable because of a touchdown. 3 for 21 from St. Brown, which killed me. Khalif Raymond goes 3 for 15. Nobody else relevant on that side. DJ Moore goes 3 for 20 and a touchdown on the ground. 6 for 68 and a touchdown through the air. Was a stud. 2 for 44 for Mooney. We'll move down to the tight ends where Sam Laporta killed a lot of us. He goes 2 for 23. Cole Kmet goes 5 for 66. No touchdown, but a pretty solid game. Riley Patterson does nothing. Cairo Santos goes 3 for 3 on field goals, and he was tolerable. The Lions' defense didn't kill you, but they weren't great with 7.5 points. And Chicago's defense was awesome. 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and 4 fourth down stops. This game was funky. DJ Moore seems to be the most consistent asset. I don't know what the hell happened. I thought Laporta and St. Brown were almost matchup proof in this offense. It appears I was wrong. This is what 2 games out of 3 where the Lions have looked terrible against the Bears. And I think, yeah, he was good last time though, St. Brown. I don't know. What do you take away? This was a weird one.
Yeah, I think it's the worst game of the year for both of those guys. Like Amon-Ra and Laporta have not had worse games all year. So unfortunately, it just happens. It's just rough sometimes. What it shows me is that Gibbs is so much safer than Montgomery because of the game script. He's going to be in the field, and if they get in these negative game scripts, he's going to be heavily involved, and this is what happened. And even in positive game scripts, he's on the field. So this is why I always prefer Gibbs over Montgomery. There's just more outs for him to succeed. Where Monty was fine, like he didn't kill you, but just like overall, it's just a much easier path for him. And good luck with the Chicago backfield. Like I don't even want to mess with it. It's too complicated. It's too confusing. But hey, like Justin Fields looked really good. So we thought against the Detroit defense, he was going to have a really good game. And he did have a really good game. Started out hot, regressed a little bit, and then kicked it off down the stretch. It's just, Chicago is going to be feisty fighting for that playoff spot. They look like a solid team. So who knows what's going on with Detroit? It's just week to week, they just seem really chaotic right now.
Yeah, I prefer Fields over Goff. Those two are both starters. I want both Lions running backs, no Bears running backs. I think on the receivers, I want St. Brown and I want DJ Moore, and that's it. And I'll take both tight ends, even though they both seem to have their ups and downs. And that's pretty much it for me. It's pretty consolidated here, even though the Lions guys let you down. I guess better to do it in week 14 than week 15 when it matters, unless week 15 or week 14 was when it mattered for you. Then you're screwed.
Yep. Yeah, that would be unfortunate if you were in playoffs last week or this week.
Or you needed to win to get into the playoffs last week, this week or whatever.
Yeah, you're counting on the guys. Yeah, because if you're rolling out the lineup of Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, and you're just like, yep, that's not playoffs for me. This is unfortunate.
That was my not Scott Fishbowl. That was my Frankenstein league. Mike Evans, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Laporta. I have Raheem Mostert still, but it's not pretty. So
at least you had Lawrence go well. But yeah, the rest of the guys, it's just like yikes.
Next up, Cincy beats Indy 34-14. Both teams are 7-6 somehow. Jake Browning goes 275 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception, 3 carries for 7 yards and a rushing TD. Gardner Minshew goes 240 and a passing touchdown, a 2-point conversion, 1 interception, and 2 carries for 5 yards. The running backs, Zach Moss carries 13 times for 28 yards, 4 for 28 through the air. We had 2 awesome Bengals running backs. Kind of scares me a bit here as a Mixon owner. Mixon goes 21 carries for 79 yards and a touchdown. He adds in 3 for 46 through the air. Chase Brown only carries 8 for 25, but he had 3 for 80 and a touchdown through the air. So that's scary. It seemed I had one where I was celebrating a long receiving, like check down receiving touchdown by Joe Mixon, only to realize I'm like, I thought Mixon was number 28. Oh, he is. That's Chase Brown, who just took it 80 yards. So fuck me. Like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Oh, those are my other 2 guys in that league. I had Mixon and Jamar Chase. So Mixon was all right for me, but Chase was not.
Yeah, Chase was brutal.
Yeah. Pittman goes 8 for 95 and a 2-point conversion. Josh Downs 3 for 32, 2 for 22 for Alec Pierce. T. Higgins 2 for 72. Jamar Chase 3 for 29. Tyler Boyd 2 for 23. So despite Jake Browning put up a pretty solid fantasy stat line, none of his receivers were even borderline usable.
Mm-hmm.
Will Mallory goes 5 for 46. Mo Alley Cox does most of it on a touchdown, all of it on a touchdown, 1 catch for 2 yards and a TD. Tanner Hudson 2 for 21, saved by a touchdown. So we have a couple of guys here saved by touchdowns. Matt Gay misses his only field goal and his only extra point. McPherson was decent, 2 for 2 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points. The defenses, the Colts didn't kill you. They were average. 1 interception, 1 touchdown, which saved their fantasy day. The Bengals go 1 interception, 3 sacks, a fumble recovery, and some 4th down stops. They were surprisingly good, but I probably did not start them anywhere. I probably did start the Colts. What do you think here?
So Jake Browning is proving me wrong that he is a capable NFL quarterback, because this is his 2nd performance in a row where after his first game, he looked just like the worst. They 41 plays, all that nonsense. The last 2 games, he's been really good. So props to Jake Browning. He's been better than I thought he would be. He's been a viable streamer option the last 2 weeks, and he gets, Minnesota? He gets Minnesota next week. So if you're desperate,
Minnesota's defense has been better.
I know, it's weird. Like I still don't fully trust them.
I don't like these 3 matchups.
Right here.
That's
Pittsburgh one. Yeah. So it's just like depends on where you're at and where you're like looking through. We have like Minshew who's going against Pittsburgh next week. I don't really deal with that. And Zach Moss was really disappointing. We knew he was gonna get the volume and the usage. It just did not work out well for him. He basically put a Joe Mixon performance where it's inefficient, not good volume. On the flip side, Mixon, he's been carrying your teams with Browning, and he's been really good. So Mixon had 25 opportunities in this game. Yeah. So I get it, Brown's playing a role, but Mixon's still seeing a heavy amount of the workload. So if you have Mixon, you got to be happy with him because he's really like the only guy that's been consistent of the skill position players.
And
talk about Jamar Chase,
lowest snap share of the season yet. Somehow.
Yeah, I think that's because they was just like the game got out of hand, so they kind of just rested him a little bit, and they let Chase Brown get his because his snap share was at like 30%, so like it doubled from the week before, and they won by 20. So it seems like it's just like one of those games. But Chase Brown could have a role moving forward, so we'll see how that works out. And Michael Pittman is the most consistent fantasy wide receiver in football. Like it's just nonstop, just good production every week. 15, 22, 15, 12. Like he gives you double digits every week. He gets the target.
Amazing. He's still only 11th.
Yeah, it's wild. He's not the high-end asset, but he's just been really good and consistent. So he's not going to kill you with these 4 games.
20, 28, 22, 16, 14. How is this only 11th? It's amazing that's only good for 11th. He doesn't score a lot of touchdowns, but
yeah. I mean, he's already had 138 targets. He's about to smash his career record. And we got 4 more games for him. Yeah, he can be pushing 180 targets on the year. Like, that's just wild usage for Pittman. Yeah, it's really good.
Ooh, I own him.
T. Higgins is just, it's weird, man. I don't know. T. Higgins got 4 targets. Jamar Chase only got 4 targets. This game just seemed really weird for Cincinnati with how this played out. They didn't really need their wide receivers to do much. They involved the tight ends. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like this is sticky, but they really just rolled. So I would kind of just chalk it up to a weird game script and be okay with Chase. I'm still not really interested in Higgins for the most part. It's just been disappointing, and he still continues to be disappointing. So we'll see.
All right. Cleveland Browns 31, Jacksonville Jaguars 27. Both teams 8-5. Trevor Lawrence, despite being injured, played all right, turned the ball over way too much against the good Cleveland defense. 257 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Joe Flacco outdoes him. Goes 3-11 and 3 touchdowns, but the difference is only 1 interception. So Flacco is surprisingly decent as a streamer. That's kind of scary. Another injured player here, Travis Etienne, comes through, 35 rushing yards and a touchdown, and 4 for 37. So the touchdown probably makes his day look a lot nicer than it was. Dearness Johnson goes 3 carries for 12 yards and 2 for 16 through the air. Jerome Ford, 12 carries, 51 yards, and 5 for 31 through the air. Kareem Hunt carries 10 times for 27 yards and saves his day with a rushing touchdown. The receivers were all average and not great. Calvin Ridley goes 4 for 53. Parker Washington, 2 for 27. A touchdown helps, and the fumble lost hurts. Zay Jones goes 5 for 29. Christian Kirk out of the lineup, so I was surprised they just kind of spread it out here. Amari Cooper goes 7 for 77, loses a fumble. David Bell goes 1 for 41 and a touchdown, so it's all on one play and cannot be relied on. Eli Moore, I thought, would do better. He was 3 for 42. Cedric Tillman, 2 for 23. The tight ends were the stars here. Every time I looked up, there was a tight end in the end zone in this game. We have Evan Ingram, 11 catches on 12 targets, 95 yards, and a touchdown. David Njoku, 6 catches on 8 targets, 91 yards, and two touchdowns for both. Sorry, I don't know if I said 1 or 2. We'll get back into them in a second. I'm going to look and see. I bet you they are tight end 1 and 2 on the week.
They gotta be.
McManus was crappy for fantasy, 3 for 3 on extra points. Dustin Hopkins was okay, 1 for 1 on field goals, 4 for 4 on extra points. Both defenses were solid. The Jags put up 1 interception, a sack, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 recoveries. And the Browns put up 3 interceptions, 4 sacks, a forced fumble, 1 recovered, and 4 fourth down stops. I'm going to quickly switch over here to the stats leaders for tight ends, and it is Ingram and Njoku back-to-back for our leaders. No surprise there. What's your takeaway from this one?
Yeah, like it's interesting with these quarterbacks, but it's very simplified in these offenses with the injuries of how they're distributing their targets. Like we see it, Cooper led the team, Njoku was second, and then is Elijah Moore third. And Njoku ran more routes than Elijah Moore, which was interesting to me. I was wondering how the second game would go with that. But it really simplifies. It's like those 3. And on the flip side, Jacksonville, it's really easy to tell. You look at the targets, they freaking had, 14 for Zay Jones, 13 for Ridley? Like that's those 2 guys right there. And then Ingram with 12. So it's like, these offenses, it's really easy to decide who's getting the targets and who's not. Like you just consolidate on those 3, and then the running backs could chip in and here and there with the receiving work. But like it's really hyper concentrated on those guys. Where we had even ETN get 4 targets, Jerome Ford got 6, and this is because of Joe Flacco. So like Joe Flacco, he was going to check it down, and like helps Ford get there where he's basically 10 points a game. Like you just look at his stats every week, it's 10 points, 12, 9, 10. It's really weird how consistently just average he's been. And on the flip side, like ETN, he's just doing his thing where he's a mid to high end RB1. So overall, with the injury, I was worried about Trevor Lawrence, but he was fine. We had questions about our Star Show. We're like, I guess you got to play Lawrence. I don't know. But yeah, he did okay. So overall, I'm curious to see with Flacco who they're going against next week. But like, he might be another guy who you want to consider streaming because he's a veteran quarterback who's proven that he can consistently guide these offenses up and down the field. It's not going to kill you. So like, they're playing Chicago next week. So, you know, I think you could do worse than starting Joe Flacco in week 1 of the playoffs if you're like the 6th seed and need a quarterback.
Yep, Chicago, Houston, back-to-back. That's not a terrible option. Quarterbacks, I think, are both playable. Obviously, Lawrence is the better of the 2. You're going Ford and ETN. I don't really want anything to do with Kareem Hunt. It seems like he's not even getting the passing downs work. He was saved by a touchdown here. The receivers are a mess. They're all over the place. Both tight ends are elite, and I don't know. the defenses are good, just matchup dependent. Moving on to an exciting one here. The Saints moved to 6-7 by defeating the Panthers 28-6. Panthers are now 1-12. Bryce Young goes 137 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He does have 40 rushing yards to add in, but still sucked. Derek Carr, not much better. 119 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So, of all the good, this is the first game I think we've seen bad QB numbers, with the exception of Jared Goff. So, in a good week of QBs, these two are not going to be on the leaderboard. Running backs, we see Chuba Hubbard goes 23 carries, 87 yards, 2 for 9 through the air. Sanders was probably his best game in a while, and it wasn't great. He had 10 carries for 74 yards. Kamara in his worst game in a while. He has 12 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Three catches for negative 11 yards through the air is an interesting stat line. Through the air, through the receivers here. Thielen goes 5 for 74. DJ Chark 2 for 26. Mingo 2 for 22. Chris Olave 4 for 28 and a touchdown. A lot of not great numbers here by the receivers. Thielen, I guess, was the best, and Olave was saved by a touchdown, but it wasn't pretty. The tight ends are not much prettier. And for the second week in a row, Jimmy Grandpa is the best tight end for the Saints. 2 for 16 and another touchdown, which is what he's living on. Both kickers were not good. The Panthers defense, nobody was starting. They sucked. The Saints defense was awesome. They are the DST1 on the week, I'm sure. They had 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, a touchdown, and 5 fourth down stops. They were excellent. What are your takeaways from this?
This is going to be a really weird game script. If you look at the snaps, it's all over the place in New Orleans, just because Carolina might be the most dysfunctional team we've seen since that 2021 Jaguar squad. They are awful and cannot do anything. Like, it is brutal watching the offense try to do like anything. Like, Hubbard's getting there on volume, and Sanders finally had an efficient day, but it's just so rough. I was watching that game, and you just see there was a throw from Young to Mingo, or like around the corner, where all Mingo has to do is turn to the right side, but he turns to the left side, looks the wrong way, and the ball lands 5 feet to his right. And it's like, dude, you could have had a white. It's just
really
that team.
That's
they're
amazing that would happen. We've documented how good Mingo is at running routes.
Yeah, with his body control and all that.
This is shocking to me. I would never expect that from Jonathan Mingo.
It was so bad. I was just like, and you see Bryce Young, he throws his hands up like, good Lord.
Bryce Young, Jonathan Mingo, first round, second round combination, the worst 1-2 draft pick in like the NFL history. The worst any team's ever come out with 2 high-end draft picks.
It's so brutal, man.
It's pretty bad right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and they desperately need help. Like, clearly they missed on Mingo, and Young's just in the worst possible situation. So I don't know what they got to do, but they got to make some changes if they want to be at all competitive next year, because it's a lot of the same issues. And they're tied up with cap money too, so it's a harder situation than Jacksonville. But
turns out
the Saints, like, Carr was awful too. And you see his linemen yelling. Did you watch the game actually?
No,
like,
I was out.
The linemen were literally yelling at Derek Carr as they were running off the field. Like, they were pissed at Derek Carr. Because I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like they're tired of him as well. So, yeah, New Orleans got there just because they're just a better team. They have better players across the board, and like, they didn't really do anything special. They just did enough to survive. Where you're playing Carolina, like, that's my kind of takeaway. Both these teams are probably going to struggle down the stretch.
Yeah, depending on what New Orleans' schedule is. New Orleans gets the Giants, Rams, and Bucks. The Saints could win could win 3 out of the last 4 and make the playoffs here. They're going to lose to the Rams, I think, but.
Yeah, that Atlanta game's going to be probably division deciding more than likely.
None of these teams are above 500. The Saints don't face another team above 500. Yikes.
That's wild.
Saints going to win the NFC South.
They could. That Atlanta game's going to be for all the marbles. Watch.
That's gross. Oh, we have like 2-3 games in a row that are gross here with the Saints, the Jets game, and then that Vikings game. But Jets 30, Texans 6. CJ Stroud, not his best game. 10 completions for 91 yards. He did leave with a concussion. The long neck dinosaur came in relief. He did nothing. Zach Wilson goes 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble lost. Go figure. Zach Wilson was good. Running backs, Devin Singletary takes back over. I don't know what the hell's going on with these two. Pierce and Singletary back and forth. 13 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown. Pierce goes 4 carries for 9 yards, so nobody great. Breece Hall was awesome. 10 carries, 40 yards, 8 for 86, and a touchdown through the air, which is where he made all of his points. The receivers, none of them are healthy. Tank Dell out. Noah Brown, he left with an injury, didn't he? Oh, no, it was Nico who left.
Yeah.
Xavier Hutchinson goes 2 for 15. Nico 1 for 13. Mechie 1 for 6. Robert Woods 1 for -2. So not great. Garrett Wilson 9 catches for 108 yards. Randall Cobb does nothing but scores a touchdown. Same with Xavier Gibson on the rushing touchdown. Tight ends, we have Brevin Jordan goes 3 for 35. Ty Conklin goes 4 for 57. And Jeremy Rucker 3 for 37. Fairbairn, they still haven't changed this. Come on, sleeper. Fairbairn has been out since what? Week 10, and they haven't changed it. It's Matt Amendola.
They just don't want to do it. I don't know why.
God,
like they're just refusing. They got to beef with the Texans.
Change your shit, sleeper. Then we have Greg Zerline goes 3 for 3 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. He has a monster day. Both defenses were decent. Texans have 4 sacks, a forced fumble, and 1 recovered. Jets were awesome. 6 points against, 5 sacks, and 3 fourth down stops. What's your takeaway from this other than the fact that the Texans must be the most beat-up team in the NFL?
Yeah, if there's no CJ Stroud next week, good luck starting a single player of the Texans offense. It's going to be gross. And they're going to match up with Tennessee.
CJ Stroud next week. Good luck starting a single player. Because I don't think Collins plays. Tank Dell's not going to play. So you're going John Mechie or playing guess the fucking running back here.
That's the problem. Like, it's just the targets and stuff are going to be so distributed. You don't know who's going to step forward. It's best just to avoid it.
Remember when 6 weeks ago it was people were lining up for Texans? Stroud, Singletary, Pierce, Nico, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz. You couldn't get enough Texans in your lineup. Now I don't think there's any. Most people aren't going to be starting any of them next week. It's funny how
we're talking about them MVP, and we're like, we want all the Texans, and crazy how stuff changes, right? But for the Jets,
because that's how it started. It started the offseason where nobody wanted any Texans. Then everyone wanted every Texan. Now nobody wants any Texans. So
it's like the flat
circle of life, man. The line.
Time is a flat circle, baby. Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are just elite talents. They did what they do to get you fantasy points. It's not because Zach Wilson's a good quarterback. He's not. He had a good game, but I don't trust that at all. So good luck with that. Yeah, but Breece Hall got there with the receptions. 9 targets, 86 yards, touchdown. Garrett Wilson, 14 targets, 108 yards. Like, that's just what these guys do. They have boom weeks because they're very good talents. So you just got to bet on them. And you're going to roll them out in the playoffs and just hope they boom for you because it's up and down with those guys every week. So you see Breece Hall's usage and every week. He's got some boom weeks. He's got some low weeks. You just got to bet on the top. They go against Miami next week. So they're going to be forced to pass on a lot and get positive game trips. So they're going to need it. So that's what we're going to hope for.
I don't even have to click on the next game to know we're going to see some ugly fantasy lines here. I wonder, okay, over under, how many players on the next game do you think topped 10 fantasy points?
Oh, I don't even know if anybody did, honestly. I'm going to go with 0.
I'm going to say 1.
What?
1, okay.
I'm looking.
So we'll set the line at 0.
Defenses.
We'll set the line at 0. Okay. Yes, include defenses then.
I'll say 1.5.
Okay, and I'll take 2 then. You're taking 1.5. I'll take 2. 2. I'm taking 2. Let's see.
You're taking it over. Okay.
Oh, it's not a good start.
It's rough.
1. Devontae. 2.
Oh my god. Good lord.
3, 4. Oh wow. Both defenses. Both defenses. So it would have been 2 if it hadn't been for defense. But anyways, you got Josh Dobbs. Remember, like a month ago, people were fighting me over Dobbs about how I said he's Josh Dobbs. We're not doing this. He'll be good for 2 or 3 games and then he'll suck. Look what. Guess what? He was good for 2 or 3 games and then he was replaced by Nick Mullins. That's how good he is. Nick Mullins.
Legend.
I believe you said this as well. Sell Josh Dobbs. I know I certainly fucking did.
Yep.
It's funny. That's how much they hate Jaron Hall. I don't know why they don't cut him. They went to Nick fucking Mullins. Ugh.
I think it's because Jaron Hall's on the rookie contract, so like he's cheap, whatever. But yeah, like you can definitely just get rid of him because it's not happening for him, unfortunately. Yeah,
All right,
this is a disaster offense.
63 yards from Josh Dobbs, 83 from Nick Mullins, not to be outdone by Aiden O'Connell, who puts up 171 yards and an interception. That's gross. Running backs aren't much better. Ty Chandler, 12 carries, 35 yards, 3 for 7 through the air. 10 carries for 66 yards for Madison, but no touchdown for either. Made it kind of a crappy day. No touchdowns. Well, I guess no touchdowns in the game. Made it a crappy day for all of them. Josh Jacobs, 13 for 34. That's impressive. 2.9 yards per carry, if my math is correct. Devontae Adams somehow puts up 12.5 fantasy points, 7 for 53. Impressive. 5 for 25 for Jacoby Myers, 3 for 46 for Hunter Renfrow. KJ Osborne goes 4 for 15. Justin Jefferson, 2 for 27 and left again with a chest injury. Not good. Oh, it says avoid severe injury. I thought it sounded like he was done, but.
Yeah, he got hit on the side, so they were worried about his kidneys and stuff, but it seems like he's okay-ish. I don't know. It's just been a rough year for Jefferson.
I don't start players in their return from significantly long injuries, so I didn't have him in my lineup anyways. So it worked out well for me because I had him on my bench. So, I mean, I realized this was completely unrelated to his previous injury and was just luck, but either way, I'm glad I left him on my bench.
He got hung out to dry by his quarterback. It was rough.
Yeah, Addison 2 for 27. TJ Hawkinson goes 5 for 53. Michael Mayer 1 for 14. This fucking game is ugly. Greg Joseph puts up 2 fantasy points and is the best kicker in the game. Daniel Carlson, who was drafted as a top 5 consensus kicker, is kicker 25 on the year. I know most people don't have kickers and don't follow kickers. He may be one of the biggest busts this year at kicker I've seen in a long time. The Vikings and Raiders defenses were both good. I believe the Vikings were definitely on my streamer article. So that was a hit for me. I don't think I went Raiders because I'm not suicidal. So Vikings had an interception, 4 sacks, forced fumble, and 2 recoveries. The Raiders, 3 points allowed and 5 sacks. They got there. So the defenses were the star of the show here, maybe because both offenses suck. Both quarterbacks suck. So, like, Devontae Adams appears to be almost matchup proof or quarterback proof. TJ Hawkinson the same, but, like, these offenses, Chandler and Jacobs are risky. Jefferson, Addison, there's a lot of risky options here. Even Hawkinson, he put up a dud recently, didn't he? No, he didn't. Okay. So it looks like Hawkinson is pretty consistent here. Devontae Adams has been decent. He's been underwhelming, but like I want TJ Hawkinson in this game and nobody else.
Yeah, it's like him and Adams, the 2 that you can count on for floor plays if you're looking for that. But then, like the thing about this game is Dobbs shielded just how bad O'Connell was. Otherwise, we'd be walking away from this game talking about O'Connell's awful. But nobody's talking about just how bad
Dobbs was worse.
Yeah, exactly. So he's just saying O'Connell's not good. Rod Farma sucks, basically.
Someone needs to get him a liter of cola.
Yeah, for real. So it's gonna be a rough story. These guys in the playoffs. Hopefully they figure it out. I'm not even sure who they play. So Vegas plays the Chargers next week, so it's like the ideal matchup, and the Vikings play Cincinnati. So yeah, 2 defenses you could exploit. This is going to be interesting to see who's going to be startable, but it's really just Adams, Hawkinson, and who knows what's going on with Jefferson.
There's going to be a lot of teams or a lot of players from these 2 teams in the start-sit questions next week. I can guarantee that. Good matchup, shitty quarterbacks. Let's move on. I'm sick of this game already.
Yeah, it's rough.
49ers 28, Seahawks 16. Drew Lock, 269 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Brock Purdy, 368, 2 TDs, and an interception. Brock Purdy was pretty good. Drew Lock was good by Drew Lock standards. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet both kind of split the carries. Well, they did. Neither got into the end zone, so that's why the lower stats. 8 for 21 for Walker, 4 for 33 through the air, 9 for 44 for Charbonnet, and 1 catch for 4 yards. CMC does what CMC does. 145 yards rushing, and what is this? 1 for 8 receiving. No touchdowns, so that was surprising. Jordan Mason was decent. I think he got a lot of late garbage time carries, but 4 for 20, 1 touch. Oh, that's what it was, the 1 touchdown, garbage time touchdown. Receivers here, the revolving door of which Seahawk to start at receiver continues to revolve or to change. We have Lockett goes 6 for 89. DK goes 2 for 51, saved by a touchdown. JSN goes 4 for 25. That is a scary situation there. The Niners' Debo is awesome again. He has a rushing touchdown on a goal line carry. Receiving, he goes 7 for 149 and a long-ass touchdown where nobody decided to cover him. Brandon Ayuk, 6 for 126 and a fumble loss, so he was also awesome. Colby Parkinson was surprisingly good because of a touchdown, 2 for 28 and a touchdown. Seahawks love to do that, throw in just one random tight end touchdown to fuck with you. George Kittle, 3 for 76, also saved by a touchdown. Both kickers were duds. Seahawks defense was tolerable, 1 interception, 3 sacks, a fumble forced, and 1 recovered. And the 49ers were pretty good considering the matchup. 2 picks, 4 sacks, and a 4th down stop. This one's got a lot to dissect and digest. What are your thoughts here? I mean, it seems to be the Niners, you start Purdy, you start McCaffrey, you start both receivers, and you start Kittle. It's pretty easy, and then you avoid everyone else. Whereas the Seahawks, that's a fucking cluster at running back or receiver. That's a fucking cluster at running back. You're disregarding all the tight ends. The Seahawks are a fucking mess, and you're the Seahawks guy, so you tell me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for Seahawks fans right now. So this was my worry with Drew Lock is there's going to be some freaking issues in this game, and there was. Because he's not Geno Smith. We saw the offense look really good against Dallas last week. And then this week, Geno Smith was going against them. Geno Smith's out, and then insert Drew Lock. And it's just chaos. Like, he had some good moments in this game, but he also had some really bad moments, which that's Drew Lock. That's what he does. Moving forward, I don't know. They play Philadelphia next week. And if Geno Smith's going to play, I'm going to have a lot more confidence in this offense because Philadelphia's defense is just not good. So they can get the points and get there. With Drew Lock, I'm just going to be very worried how this breaks down. Like, you can't have this mid-level split between Walker and Charbonnet and expect much of anything from these guys because no one's getting enough volume or usage to really matter. So that's the hard part. So they need a touchdown.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right and Geno plays next week because I started my matchup article for next week. And based on the best matchups, my cover right now is Geno Smith and DK Metcalf. So I hope Geno plays or I got to change my fucking cover.
I would start the wide receivers next week for Seattle for sure.
Yeah, I went with DK because he seems to be the most consistent. But I don't know. The running backs, like it seems like you don't get none of them kill you, running backs or receivers. But it seems like you really need a tight end for any of them to be good. A tight end, a touchdown for any of them to be good. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what DK like. That's why DK was such a blow up last week because he had 3 touchdowns. But yeah, it's up and down. And the Niners are like the most simple. Just start those 4 guys and actually 5 with Purdy. So you start the 2 running the wide receivers, CMC. Actually, that touchdown was like the first drive because he housed it 72 yards, got tackled 5-yard line. In comes Mason, swoops the touchdown. I go,
yeah, because he was tired. Yeah. I seen. That's shitty. Wasn't even the 5. It looked like it was like the 3.
But. Yep. Yeah. It was like, no, don't take him out. But yeah, it is what it is. You know these teams.
Buffalo Bills 20, KC 17. He was offside. That's all I'll say.
Yep.
If Josh Allen goes 23 for 233, a touchdown and interception, 10 for 32 and a rushing touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, 271 yards passing, a touchdown and an interception. Only 1 carry for 8 yards. So Pat Mahomes was not great. James Cook, 10 carries, 58 yards, 5 for 83, and a touchdown through the air. Bet you he's still top 12, 13 close. He is the most underrated, most like silently quiet, borderline RB1 in football. Like nobody ever talks about him. Every week I have him ranked in like the 20s, like 18, 20, 24, and then he's 13 on the season. But
right, exactly.
We have Ty Johnson, who's still in the NFL. Moving on, we have Jerick McKinnon, 4 for 19 and 1, and then 3 for 18 through the air. CEH got the majority of the rushing work, but didn't do much with it, 11 for 39. The receivers, Rashee Rice was great. Everybody else sucked. Stephon Diggs, 4 for 24. Deontay Hardy, 1 for 25. Shakir, 1 for 12. Trent Sherfield, 1 for 9. Gabe Davis, 0 on 2 targets. So the people who fought me all week saying this was the Gabe Davis blow-up week and that I was an idiot, yeah, you were incorrect, sir. Thank you very much. I'll victory lap now. I'm getting very petty as the season goes on. I don't know about you.
Don't blame me. It's a long season.
It's a long season, and at some point, it's like you get sick of blah 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 blah. They're like, there's no reason. You're wrong. You're gonna be wrong. Just wait and see. And it's like, I told you I was right. Fuck off.
Really, he'll.
I find I'm victory lapping more as I'm getting more and more tired as the season grows to a close. I know that before I just used to move on and I kept it to myself. Now it's like, fuck off. I don't. My filter seems to be malfunctioning as we get later in the season. But Rashi Rice 7 for 72 and a touchdown. Kadarius Toney 2 for 16, 3 for 25 and an offside. MBS 2 for 22. Dalton Kincaid goes 5 for 21. Knox had some targets, but didn't really factor in. I guess kind of split it here with Kincaid. 8 targets, but he just didn't do much with them. Kelsey 6 for 83, a great day. No touchdown, didn't help him. The kickers, Bass was salvageable, I guess we'll call it. 2 for 2 on field goals, 2 for 2 extra points. Butker sucked, 1 for 1 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points, but it was a gimme field goal. Both defenses didn't kill you, but both defenses didn't really help you. They just they're literally, my cutoff line for a usable defense and kicker is 8 points. So literally, if I had started any of these 3 in Bass or the 2 DSTs, they literally did the bare minimum to qualify as a hit this week. And that's pretty much what they are. Just the bare minimum this week. Hopefully you didn't, like, this is one of the times where if you had either of these defenses, hopefully you could afford to roster a second defense, because I didn't want to start either. And I expected this to be much higher scoring. So the fact that it was 2017 and both DSTs still sucked tells you, how tough the matchup was. But what do you take away from here? Like, this fucking, the Chiefs are a mess.
Yeah, they really are. It's so rough. Well, especially we lost Pacheco. It's even harder. Like, they're splitting the work between Edwards-Helaire and McKinnon. And, like, that's why I bet on McKinnon, just because, like, I thought he'd be more efficient with the receiving usage. He got the touchdown, which saved the difference. But, like, it's so hard to trust anyone outside of Rashi Rice and Travis Kelce.
Oh, see, I didn't think McKinnon would be more efficient. He did kind of what I thought. I thought he'd be involved in the passing game, and they seem to love to give him the goal line work. And that's kind of, I wasn't surprised at all by the stat line. That's why I liked him. But
yeah, like, CEH is who he is. He just was not great. But, like, it's harder for that. It's the hardest it's been for that Kansas City offense in years. You watch them, everything looks difficult. Nothing's easy. So it's just like they have to work extra hard. And going against a Buffalo team that's good, who's just been very unlucky this season, Buffalo looked like the better team. But it was difficult for them as well. And James Cook was the best player on Buffalo's offense. Like, you watched the skill position players, and it was Cook that was making everything happen. Oddly enough, he only saw like 40% of snaps. But, like, when he was on the field, he was heavily used. So it's very strange. I don't know what's going on there. But,
it's amazing. You can't trust Murray. We started the season and saying, like, if you had to pick the top 5 title contenders, 4 of them were in the AFC. Of those 4 that are in the that we picked, well, 3 of them, like Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, I don't think any of the 3 look like they belong in the playoffs right now, let alone a legit contender. If you had to, like, I would say, if I had to pick an AFC champion, I'm going the North. I think it's either Browns or Ravens.
Yeah,
the AFC looks like a fucking mess.
It's a zoo. It's wild. Both these teams have been dealt with injuries and just letdowns, and it's not good. I will say, like, for the tight ends, people were worried about Kincaid. He ran 90% of routes. Don't be worried about Kincaid. He's on the field to run the routes, and he ran all of the routes pretty much. So I get it. What's his face came back? Why am I blanking on his name? Knox. But he really did not impact his role at all. They used Knox like half the time. Kincaid ran 43 of 49 routes. Like, he's very much involved in the offense.
Keep going.
No, yeah. So he'll be a mid-high tight end 1 each and every week, which is good to know. And yeah, it's just, I don't know what's going on with Stephon Diggs, but this is another just disappointing week. He hasn't had a stealing week in what feels like 6 weeks. It's just been rough. I don't know what's going on. They're not connecting, so it's kind of difficult to trust him, but he's getting the volume. So you just got to keep plugging him in there, hope it hits. They get Dallas next week, so that will be interesting.
Who's that, Diggs?
Yeah. It's just been underwhelming for Diggs. Even though he's getting the volume, it's just been like, man, it's just disappointing watching him go. Like, this game in particular, 4 for 11. That's rough.
Yeah. Look at the targets here, or the catches.
Yeah, the targets are there. It's just not happening for him, unfortunately. Yeah. Like,
all right. Broncos 24, Chargers 7. This would have been a lot closer had Herbert not left with a broken finger, I think it is, thumb, finger, one of them. Russell Wilson, 224 for 2 touchdowns and an interception. He was passable. Herbert goes 9 for 96 and an interception before leaving. Easton Stick comes in, puts up 179 yards and loses a fumble. He's useless. Javonte was good, 17 carries, 66 yards, and a touchdown, 3 for 25 through the air. The Italian Stallion, 8 yards, and then chips in 5 for 36. Eckler finally did something, 10 for 51 and a touchdown, 5 for 49. So the buy low window has closed on Eckler. Cortland, playoff or trading in general is probably closed. I went to do that earlier. I went to start writing my my trade chart for this week, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't have to do a redraft trade chart for this week, just dynasty, because you can't trade and redraft in the playoffs in 90% of leagues. But Cortland Sutton, 3 for 62 and a touchdown. Judy, Mims, Humphrey, everyone on the Broncos did nothing. That's kind of scary how useless everyone but Cortland Sutton was in that pass catching group. Keenan Allen goes 6 for 68, kind of disappointing for him. Quentin Johnston puts up the exact same fantasy points pretty much, and somehow that's a good game for him and a disappointment for Keenan Allen. He goes 3 for 91. The tight ends, we had 2 who were decent. Adam Troutman, 2 for 19, saved by a touchdown. Gerald Everett was better, 5 for 39, but didn't have the touchdown, still put up more points. Both kickers were atrocious. The Denver defense was excellent. The Chargers defense was not. Denver puts up an interception, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a recovery, and 5 fourth down stops, while the Chargers get an interception and 2 sacks only. It was nice to see Austin Eckler come back to life. This entire Chargers offense worries me. I think with Justin Herbert, assuming it says they're Thursday or Saturday or something, and it already said he's not playing. So I don't know. I'm probably still going to fire up Eckler and Keenan Allen in the first round if I have to. I don't really want any other Charger. And on the Broncos, it's easy for me. If it's not Russell Wilson, Javonte, or Cortland Sutton, I'm not playing any of them.
Yeah, it's that simple. Like the thing for the Chargers is it kills the tight ends. Like you get Easton Stick in there, like you can't trust tight end anymore. You can at least fire them up with hope. Now it's just like, no, not doing this. Like I get it. No, thank you. It was fun watching Easton Stick throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right past Eckler's head at the goal line. Like he was wide open, all he do was lob it, and he just chucked it like Jamarcus Russell. I was like, dude, what are you doing? There was no one around him. He's not a good quarterback. So this offense is going to struggle more than it did with Herbert. So yeah, like I think what it does for Keenan is it just lowers his floor. Like he's still going to get targets, he's still going to be involved. He's just not going to have those ceiling performances. And where Eckler's going to get like finally got the targets, and I was like, cool. So they're back using him that. So yeah, I'll trust those 2 guys. But yeah, same thing. These offenses, like we know who you're going to play. At least Quentin Johnston's a full-time player. He ran like every snap. He's going to be super boom bust, and without Herbert, it's just not really going to work out for him. So it's just you don't have to worry about him anymore. Yeah. So these offenses are just disappointing in general.
First round of the playoffs, there's a combined 5 players I'm starting in this game. So
yeah, and even like I don't have a lot of confidence in Javonte either. Like it's not great. Yeah.
Sadly, I think the one maybe Eckler's my favorite choice out of all these. Other than that, it's Cortland Sutton, I think.
Yeah, and then it'll be like Keenan and just you just pass everybody off.
To close it out, Dallas upsets Philly 33-13. I believe that puts Dallas in charge of the division. That's something you don't see. Jalen Hurts finally does not score. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I think they still own the tiebreaker because they won the first matchup between them. So I think it's Philly, but I'm not sure.
I thought, just a sec. I thought I heard in the car that it puts the Cowboys in first now, but I'm going to double check right now. It does. It puts the Cowboys in first on what is the tiebreaker? Point differential is the tiebreaker. The point differential for the Cowboys is plus 188. The Eagles plus 21. Yikes.
It's only plus 21?
Yikes.
So wild.
The Cowboys are way ahead of everyone. The next highest score. So the 49ers are plus 175. After that, the next highest is the Ravens at plus 140. And then there's only 2 teams over 100. Good.
I'm surprised God. Philly's like that close to 0. That's wild. I did not expect
fucking that. Cowboys are scoring.
Dude, they're really good. The Cowboys are a really good team. Like, that's the thing. They are fucking all over the field. They're good.
Jalen Hurts shits the bed because he didn't get himself any tush pushes. Once again, I've been pushing that narrative, so just allow me another victory lap. He goes 8 for 179, 18 for 197 because I'm dyslexic, and goes 5 carries for 30 yards and a fumble loss. Dak 271 and 2. Good God, another fumble loss, but a decent day for Dak. The Eagles side here, we have DeAndre Swift, 11 carries for 39 yards. Gainwell, 4 for 28. Scott, 3 for 9. Tony Pollard has a decent day, actually a good day. That surprised me. I didn't like him in this at all. But to be fair, he got more work than I thought because they were running out the clock for more than I thought they would. Pollard goes 16 for 59 and 7 for 37 through the air. Dowdle gets a lot of garbage time work, a garbage time touchdown. A.J. Brown, 9 for 94 and a fumble loss. Devonta Smith, 5 for 73 and a fumble loss. How many times did the fucking Eagles fumble?
3. The 3, they killed them. That's why they were in Dallas territory and all of them too. And the fumbles just killed them.
CeeDee Lamb, 6 for 71 and a touchdown. Gallup, 3 for 48 and a touchdown. Cooks, 2 for 37. Moving on to the tight ends, Goddard goes 4 for 30. Ferguson, 5 for 72, both startable. Both kickers were good or great. Elliott was good with 2 for 2 on field goals, 1 for 1 in extra points. He hit from 40 and 50. Aubrey was awesome, 4 for 4 on field goals, 3 for 3 on extra points. He hit from 40 and he hit 3 from 50. Good God.
Wild. He went from like 60 plus.
Both defenses were good or great, much like the kickers. The Eagles were good. They put up 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 1 recovered, and a defensive touchdown to save their day. Cowboys were awesome. They put up a sack, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and a 4th down stop. So a defensive touchdown saves the Eagles, and the Eagles fumbling the ball 8 bajillion times saved the Cowboys. So this is actually, there were quite a few usable assets in this, but I bet if there was a game with the most rostered assets in it, it was probably this one or Buffalo KC. So it's, it is what we thought they were. So
yeah, exactly. I'm with you. It's so interestingly enough, like DeAndre Swift has been really disappointing the past couple weeks. And if you look at his snaps in this game, like Gainwell basically split with him down the middle. Gainwell ran more routes. I don't know what's going on, but I really don't trust Swift moving forward. He's just not getting the option, and he's not getting the touchdowns either. So it's just really hard.
He was really efficient for 2 straight games, and then look at his snaps. All of a sudden, just fell off. So I wonder what it was.
I don't know what's going on.
He's one I've never seen a player from his time with the Lions where it's just randomly he gets less work. What's going on? He was hurt and just nobody knew. And so I'm going to bet there's probably a lingering DeAndre Swift injury we don't know about, but that's pure speculation and just past history. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just worried about him moving forward. So in the playoffs, it's going to be real questionable starting him. You probably have better flex options would be my assumption. What killed the Eagles with the fumbles? This game should have been a lot closer. If they did not fumble, like we would have been a lot better for the Eagles offense in general. So it's just turnovers. They get you. And this is what happened to the Eagles. 3 turnovers when they lost all the fumbles, just stopped the entire offense. So it really just destroyed everything they could have done. So it should have been a lot better game for them.
Gridiron Gal 87 is Tracy. What did she do? Draft every fucking Eagle?
Yeah, she said she likes to grab her players, right?
2,
so it's just all the
3,
Eagles.
4. She owns 4 Eagles.
Sheesh. But yeah, like if we look at these offenses, Pollard saw his season high in targets and receptions. CeeDee Lamb's he's awesome. Like CeeDee Lamb's wide receiver 1, basically. He's incredible. Yeah, like who you're starting with these teams. You're starting the 2 Eagles wide receivers. You're starting CeeDee Lamb. You're starting Pollard. Starting the quarterbacks. And you can do the tight ends like Ferguson and Goddard. Goddard came back. He ran enough routes. He was involved. 84% of routes. So he's back to kind of being who he was. So you trust the guys.
Absolutely. Well, that is a wrap for the Week 14 recap. Join us tomorrow, Tuesday at noon. We will do a recap of the Monday night game, and we will go through the waiver wire for the first week of most leagues playoffs. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For Aaron and Jesse, have a great day. We will see you again tomorrow.